Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Jump date for Friday the 16th. All right, let's go. Well, no setups again tonight. That's okay. You could always, obviously, take a look at the Landry list and go after some of these more aggressive issues, and we'll talk about that in just 1 second. There's been a few lately that have taken off, but when I make an official setup, it's not that it's without risk, obviously. It's just the highest possible reward based on the risk. So hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, let's take a look at TFPM. A little bit of a bounce today, better than the poke and the eye. Under your stops just in case. I'm sure we'll like to see this guy go up and bang out that IPT sooner rather than later as opposed to stopping out. So again, if you wanted to take on something a little bit more risky, this BBNX bottoming out in here, it's taken off. I prefer more than one just big up day in a situation like this. GRWG, this is a pot stock. It does have a lot of overhead supply to deal with. So that's why these aren't official setups. This MRX looks okay. I just don't think it's worth the risk. But it's a little wide and loose back here, but it did kind of take off nicely in here and then had a nice little knockout move today. You could almost go right above the high and then a little bit below the low if you wanted to do something there. I'm personally not going to take this particular trade, but I just want to show it to you. Anyway, let's take a look at the overall market, and we'll drill down a bit. Before we do that, let's take a look at the VIX. The VIX is still stretched to the downside. In fact, let's take a look at the percentages today. We're down 18%, which is significant from the moving average. Now, don't rush out and trade stocks on a position basis, but do be mindful of the fact that we are due for a correction to the downside in stocks and to the upside and the VIX, and possibly maybe an intraday type of move, or if you're fortunate enough to have some longs that are near the profit target or whatever, you might want to consider locking and loading on half of the profits in a situation like that. Anyway, S&P 500 outside day up, so not a bad day overall. Not quite up. Yeah, outside day up, but that was after the inside day, so nothing to get too excited about there. We are pushing into this overhead supply, and so far so good. I hope it just busts right through it. But you got to be careful when that happens in markets. Nasdaq Composite stalling out a little bit, and it's got a mountain of overhead supply to go through. So I wouldn't get too excited here just yet. But yeah, it's definitely improving. Things are on the up and up, at least for now. And I use the word hope, let's hope they keep on keeping on, right? Rusty 2000, okay day there, still below minor resistance and then longer term resistance there too. Take a look at robotics, just kind of stalling right at this prior little peak in here, and tons of overhead supply just above. EFA shares actually banged out some new highs in here. They're not really accelerating higher, but they did bang out new highs. So I'm not going to ignore that, but it looks like they lost some steam as of late compared to the run they were just in. And that's, again, the danger part when you have this, with these V-shaped recoveries at high levels. Again, by the time the market's all the way up here to its prior highs, it's already overbought. Gold bouncing back a little bit. Longer term uptrend still intact there. Gold stocks bouncing a little bit back above the 50, so that's a good thing. Longer term uptrend still intact, but on the cusp of a possible rollover here. We could see both time moving averages come together and roll over to the downside fairly soon. Biotechnology bouncing still looks questionable longer term. Major drugs, same sort of action happening there too. Still looks questionable. Did bounce a little bit today. We haven't looked at MAGS in a while. MAGS is kind of hanging in there today, notwithstanding, but it too, like a lot of other areas, has a lot of overhead supply to deal with. Take a look at defense, though. Look at that. Bam, winning, breaking out nicely. This V-shaped recovery didn't seem to care, right? So market do whatever it wants. It's just dangerous sometimes to jump in midstream, especially, again, on a V-shaped recovery. But on a pullback or a knockout move, we could actually start seeing some setups here. So that's put that in the positive column, I should say. Take a look at semiconductors, down a little today. They've got their work cut out for them. Again, lots and lots of resistance to get through. I know they pushed through most of it, but they still have a ways to go with that. Just a couple other areas real quick. Telecom pushing higher here. Another one of these V-shaped recoveries. Still hasn't made it to brand new highs, though. I'd feel a lot better. A lot of these areas would make it all the way to their brand new highs. That would be certainly a good thing. But again, not to beat the dead horse, you would be very, very overbought. It'd be very, very hard for it to sustain that rally. I think that's it for tonight. Everybody have a fantastic night. If you have any questions, you know the routine. We'll talk to you tomorrow, if not sooner. Thank you so much.